Hello again everyone, Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about Pluto intercepted in a natal horoscope. Now, as most of you know, interception, when someone has an interception in their natal chart, it often indicates some kind of suppression, and the energies connected with that sign, and if the sign and if the planet is in there as well, are often held back or obstructed in some manner. Now, if somebody has an interception in their chart, that means all 30 degrees of that sign is in there, and if a planet occupies it, then that planet is intercepted as well. Well, anyway, if Pluto is intercepted, the person may have trouble in connection with regeneration, transformation, things that maybe things associated with obsession, fixation. There may be some problems with that. It may be harder for the person to maybe deal with upheavals or changes, and it may be difficult for a person to make that change in that particular sector of their life, depending on what house it may be in. Now, Pluto is about death, and perhaps this person may have trouble, not necessarily in literal death situations, but as far as eradicating or ending certain things associated with the house that Pluto may occupy. And I say house as opposed to sign because this is a very generational planet, and I look a lot more as far as its significance by house placement as opposed to the sign that Pluto would occupy. Now, the person may also have difficulty dealing with upheavals as well, and may have perhaps difficulty dealing with perhaps not necessarily manipulation of this person, his or herself, but perhaps from others in connection with that house placement that Pluto is in. Now, I'll give you a couple examples so you guys can kind of understand through maybe examples how this could work. Now, let's take somebody, for example, that has Pluto in the third house intercepted in their natal chart. Now, this could indicate that the person generally doesn't like communication that is not of any significance, communication that's trivial or frivolous. Communications may be very intense. Now, there may be possible upheavals in connection with siblings, if applicable, if the person has brothers and or sisters. Now, in possible upheavals with neighbors, early education even, there may be, the fact that it's intercepted, it may be more difficult to deal with these things and to perhaps maybe make transformations and changes in the matters that are associated with the third house. Now, let's take another example. Let's take Pluto in the ninth house intercepted. Now, person that has this placement may have upheavals associated with philosophy, religion, higher education, and long-distance traveling. Now, even the relationships with the in-laws may be intense and turbulent, and I say if applicable. Now, there may be a strong desire to indoctrinate others with their own opinions and philosophies. Now, Pluto intercepted in this ninth house may make it, would make the basic description the same, with the exception that it may be harder to have expression of these things that are related to the ninth house, and to perhaps make that transformation and regeneration in connection with the ninth house matters. And these things that I described may be more difficult to work with, such as if the person was to have somewhat intense and turbulent relations with the in-laws, if there were problems with these people, if the person has in-laws, it may make it more difficult to deal with. And if this person experiences upheavals connected with philosophy, religion, higher education, long-distance traveling, it may be difficult to work with. And it may also be difficult for a person to make a change in one or more of these areas, even if that person does have that intense desire to do so. So interceptions can be very can be stressful and taxing. But it's good though that, as I've stated before in previous videos, that due to progressions in natal charts, the adverse effects of the interceptions can be alleviated but not eradicated completely, because you always have the interception in your natal chart, but the progressed chart, if you have it move out of interception by progression in a progressed chart, it will help it to some degree as far as dealing with the adverse effects of the interception. I have Pluto intercepted in my 5th house in my natal chart, so obviously I've had some difficulties and any kind of upheavals, or even making that transformation or regeneration or change necessary at times, perhaps in things associated with my hobbies, things in romance. I really have not had much romance, to be honest with you people, or throughout the course of my life, and I think a lot of that could be attributed to having that 5th house intercepted, and having Pluto in there could indicate that maybe perhaps I've had trouble, not through manipulation control by me, but perhaps by the women in my life, the prospective or flat out romantic partners that I have attracted. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Pluto intercepted in the natal chart. Stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about the North Node intercepted in the natal chart. 2 things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because a person astrologically is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.